James are still waiting to get some of the money. You think I'm joking? Listen to her. Listen to Miss Burchell.
And the principle of the People's National Party is that the chips will fall where they lie. All parties are aware of this position. Please go ahead with your question.
Right.
Okay, Zara, thank you so much for that. As the leader of the opposition said earlier,
let me see if I can
we are not in any position to confirm or deny or substantiate anything that has been said by a particular.
As I've said, I have spoken to the persons involved in light of the report that we have.
All right, here is
from Hurricane Melissa. The People's National Party has courted donations from individuals on behalf of that effort. Is it the intention of the opposition to make available to the public what has been collected in terms of the quantum and what that sum has been used for in the spirit of accountability?
Well, the People's National Party has always been very transparent and open with our financial accounting. Annually, that is published, audited financials, and I'm certain that this will form part of that process. In the meantime, we urge the government to be transparent and candid and to tell the nation what they've done with the millions they've raised in the name of Jamaica to build back constituencies, such as South St. James. We're still waiting to get some of that.
We're still waiting to get some of that. When Ms. Burchell says that, they're still waiting to get some, she's implying that no hurricane-related assistance has reached her constituents, or that the government has withheld all meaningful support. Ms. Burchell went to the press conference to say that South St. And this is why I say to you guys every night that this lackluster PR machinery of the government needs to be pulled up, you know. This lackluster PR. They should have jumped on that and point out the absurdity of that. Yes? Ms. Burchell is suggesting that no hurricane-related assistance has reached southern St. James, and that the government is withholding meaningful support from her constituency. That suggestion is at best misleading and at worst dishonest. The residents of South St. James have in fact received forms of post-disaster assistance. That is a fact. Ms. Burchell is being dishonest. I'm sick and tired of coming here every night to point these things out. I need a little time, you know, moderator, tonight. It don't matter how much. I have to point some things out. It's sickness. It's sickening, man. Might have to go get one drink of rum, you know. Go ahead.
Listeners, could you please continue to tap and share and repost the live, please? And also please remember to follow Politics Plus 2. That's a page right across from Neighbor. Okay, thank you much.
Whether it was through infrastructure, repairs, relief supplies, or social support mechanisms. To suggest otherwise erase documented interventions and risk politicizing hardship for rhetorical gain. Criticizing the adequacy or speed of support is fair game. Suggesting that the constituents have received nothing is not true. You know, you can't credibly claim to be always very transparent, which is what Ms. Burchell said. The PNP is always very transparent, while refusing to state how much money you collect, refusing to state how it was spent, and redirecting blame instead of providing facts. True transparency would have been simple. We collected X amount, Y has been distributed for relief, Z is earmarked for recovery, and the remainder will be disclosed in our audited accounts. Anything less is evasive. The bottom line is the response fails on 3 levels. Substantively, ethically, and politically. Miss Burt, is she Mrs.? Miss Burchell's response fails on 3 levels. Substantively, ethically, and politically. It fails substantively because it provides no information, no substance. It failed ethically because it dodges accountability in a disaster context. That's ethically wrong. And it failed politically because it substitutes deflection and exaggeration for clarity. Rather than accepting responsibility, Ms. Burchell throws it on the government. The question was straightforward. The answer was not. And that gap is exactly why the response feels weak and why it invites scrutiny rather than trust. You won't hear this anywhere else. That the story dead. And that is part of what is wrong with Jamaica. Thank you for your support here at Politics Plus. Continue to share the live and follow it. Thank you for joining. Let's continue with the notes. There is a quiet injustice in Jamaica today. And it is this. The Prime Minister has not been given the credit he deserves. All of you bloggers for the party I'm not your enemy. Listen to me. I'm going to try to help you tonight. Just listen to me. You hear? You know, perhaps it is because he was born in Spanish Town. Perhaps it's because he does not fit the old image of power. You know, the drawing room pedigree, the gated ascent, the inherited entitlement. Maybe he doesn't fit those. And maybe that is exactly what unsettles some. Because when a man rises from among the people and governs for the people, it exposes a class anxiety that prefers leadership to look familiar. Even when familiarity has failed us. You remember Blackman time? What the rock stone we got out of that? Where did that lead us? Familiarity has failed us, you know. We tried PJ, one of us. You know what he said up in Christiana? If he came down from the platform and mingled among the crowd, nobody would know the difference. That was true. But look at what he did in the 18 and a half years. Well, not him alone. Familiarity has failed us. And so tonight I want to make a simple but serious argument built on three ideas: burden, building, and backlash. Burden, building, backlash. Stay with me. Let us look firstly at the burden inherited. Andrew Holness did not inherit a thriving state, you know. He inherited a country weighed down by nearly 2 decades. 18 and a half years of mismanagement, fractured institutions, weakened public trust, and an economy grasping for credibility. That was what the man inherited, burdened. You know, philosopher Edmund Burke reminded us that society is a contract, not only between the living, but between the dead, the living, and those yet unborn. If you're a student of political science and you are studying in the social science department, write that down. Society is a contract, not only between the living, but between the living, the dead, but between the dead, the living, and those yet unborn. There may be people listening to me tonight who were not born in 1993, but you are suffering because of decisions that were made then. And the Prime Minister inherited the unpaid debt of yesterday. He was asked to govern for tomorrow while keeping today from collapsing. That's what you all going to need to blog about. Don't blog about me. And that is not privilege. That is burden. Secondly, the building that followed. Against that weight, Jamaica has not sunk. It has steadied. Economic stability has not come by accident. It came by discipline, by restraint, and by the unglamorous work of repairing credibility at home and abroad. And while no society ever defeats violence overnight, the continued reduction in murders matters because every life saved is a policy made human. Every downward trend is a family spared grief. And there are those in the society that don't celebrate these moments, but they are fundamental because Jamaica is not grieving anymore. We have all come out of the morgue of grief and looking forward to a society of peace. And as Aristotle taught, good governance is not about perfection, but about progress towards good. That's Aristotle. Good governance is not about perfection. It's about progress towards good. And it is a fact that wholeness has made progress towards good. No matter what the critics say, he has made progress towards good. Thirdly, the backlash he has endured. I want you to understand that no recovery happens without resistance. Listen to that, my dear moderator standing beside me. No recovery happens without resistance. And the Prime Minister has governed under relentless attacks. From an opposition determined not merely to defeat him, but to delegitimize him. And when you add to that a digital age where bloggers replace evidence, where repetition pretends to be truth, and where disinformation about matters like the uncertified statutory declaration is amplified, not to inform, but to inflame, you realize that the backlash is fierce. You know, Marcus Aurelius, he warned that a leader must expect stones from the crowd when he chooses the hard road. And here is what my moderator reminded me. The ship of state has remained afloat. That's not accidental, Jamaicans. That's leadership under fire. And I'm going to say this, you know. And I'm only an ordinary little man. Nothing about me. But with the little influence I have, I am calling up on the party to do more to protect and to support your leader. The backlash, to build on the backlash, not easy. And when the annals of history are written in Jamaica, it will record this moment that in our greatest times of, forward progress, the man that has led us out of the wilderness of poverty has been most vilified, maligned by a reckless and inept opposition who have offered no alternative, really. Let's just say it plainly. A man born in Spanish Town rising to national leadership is not weakness. It's a bridge. A prime minister steady in a broken economy while reducing violence and withstanding political and digital warfare deserves not blind praise, but fair credit. I'll say that again. A man steadying a broken economy while reducing violence and withstanding political and digital warfare deserves credit. And perhaps the real discomfort for some is not that Andrew Holness has failed Jamaica, but that he has succeeded without asking permission. Asking permission from those who once believed leadership belonged to them. And in Jamaica, let me take a break. I'm on a break. 9 minutes after 8 o'clock. Go with you until 9 o'clock. So we're pushing through until that, And I beg you a little bit more time, moderator, please. Beg you a little bit more time. Give me a little time there. By the way, I want you to work the behind the scenes for me tonight, because I have to take care of some notes, some research. Help me out here, please. And in Jamaican politics, we often mistake numbers for meaning. We mistake numbers for meaning. And tonight I want to argue that the margin of 35-28 does not reflect the quality of Andrew Holness' achievement. It does not. It does not reflect it. Draw out your knives and come for me. Yeah, I have already declared who I am. And that, in truth, it reveals something else entirely. The recent election does not reflect the Prime Minister's achievement. It is a failure of party support, not of prime ministerial leadership. If this was a presidential election, Holness would have won it hands down. It's not prime ministerial leadership why the Labour Party has 35 seats. It is a failure of party support. And I want to frame this in 3 ideas and show it to you. The first one, I'm going to call it numbers. The second, I'm going to call it neglect. And the third one, I'm going to call it narrative. Okay? Now, let's start with the numbers. A parliamentary majority is a measurement of seats, not a measurement of stewardship. I want you to get that. The parliamentary majority is a measurement of seats. It is not a measurement of stewardship. Philosopher Plato warned us that counting is not the same as knowing. You can tally votes and miss the truth. And man has Mr. Golin missed it. You hear Mr. Golin talking about his 28 seats and his 400,000 people. He's missed it. You can tally votes and miss the truth. This was an election held in the shadow of recovery. And if you follow my logical argument, you'll realize why the Labour Party is likely to grow in strength over the next 5 years, if they do certain things. It's not automatic. The economic recovery, the fiscal discipline, the institutional rebuilding that are often visible at the, these things are invisible. They are invisible at the constituency level, and they are slow to translate into applause. Because, stability rarely campaigns well. Crisis does. And so the 35-28 split reflects how close elections become when progress is technical, long-term, and easily taken for granted. It does not cancel the achievement. It conceals it. 35-28 is a concealment of the achievement of the government. And here is where it becomes a little technical, and I'm actually revealing political strategies. The PNP could take them. They are for free. The result of 2025 conceals the achievement because it's technocratic. That's why you hear people like Bobby Montague talking about the third term belongs to the people. Yes, in other words, the foundation is laid. Well, Melissa has kind of said that. But I can. Who's sending me? Who's sending me a will? Thank you for that. Who sent me that? Who sent me that, Caroline? Is you? Hello? Okay, fantastic. Thank you. All right. Let me take a little break here and get back to you, my listeners. Little break. So the point I'm making is that the result did not cancel out the achievement of the government. It concealed it. Yes, in other words, the PNP did not win 28 seats. They did not. Technically, they have 28, but they didn't win 28. And they have made a mess of the analytical reasoning behind this election outcome. Secondly, I want to point out to you that elections are not won in the cabinet room. They are won on the ground. Elections are not won at cabinet. They are won in communities. And here is where the party machinery faltered. It did not deliver wholeness, achievement. When you create 300,000 jobs and you cut crime to a 30-year low, cut poverty, and paid your public sector record wages, you don't win 35 seats. You win a landslide. And I can tell you this, there are many laborites who are hurting, they're not going to tell you. They're not happy with the result. This is a political program, so it's politics we talk over here. So settle down and have a cup of coffee. Warm up yourself. Okay? Ground organization, constituency presence, local messaging matters. Too many candidates were left to fight alone, armed with national talking points, but unsupported by sustained visible party work on the ground. A leader can set direction, but a party must carry the load. When the Prime Minister went into Westmoreland and declared war, it's not the Prime Minister who's to fight the war, it's a party. Holness is a general. He gives the order. Where is the war? Anybody see it? Where is the war that the Labour Party has been waging against disinformation? Where is it? Where are the generals and the army soldiers, the soldiers of the party? Has the war yet been declared? It was declared by the leader. Is it been fought? Well, I don't know. I don't see it. A leader sets the direction. It's the party that is to carry the load. The party. And when voters do not feel the party, when they do not see the party, they vote narrowly, cautiously, or not at all. My deep analysis tells me that there were at least 70,000 people that did not vote. Had they voted, it would be a landslide for the party. But when voters do not feel the party, when they do not see, hear, they don't vote. Because this is not a referendum on leadership. It is a warning about structure. Because I want you to understand that politics is not only about policy. It is about persuasion. Politics is not only about policy. It's about persuasion. And what the party failed to do was to tell its own story clearly. Economic statistics or economic stability was spoken about in statistics. 3% growth. What does that mean for Mass Joe? Miss Mary, where do the 2 days work? What does 3% economic growth mean to her? She can't read. She don't know what percentage are. And when you say to Mass Busher, we plant the 2 hill of sweet potato, that the economy grow by 3%, what are you saying to him? Economic stability, GDP. When you tell Aunt Cicilline about GDP growth, that Jamaica's debt to GDP grew, what are you saying to her? What are you saying to her? Aunt Maisie, you know, so the GDP grew by, what are you saying to her? Economic recovery and stability must not be spoken in statistics. You can't talk to the stock market and not talk to Coronation Market and Spanish Town Market and Maypen Market. The only market them the people know are the market where they go buy them 2 pound of yam and then 2 pound of sweet potato and then half pound of ginger. You know nothing about stock market. This is a society that suffers with civic illiteracy and critical illiteracy, critical thinking illiterate. That's why this information spreads so much in this country. Crime reduction was presented as data, not as a dignity restored. Imagine if the story was told about the crime reduction in a different way. And I'm not going to give out any more of that, you know. You can't present crime as statistics. Jamaica reduces murder by 50-something%. What that have to do with those people in the country? You think they understand it? What does that mean? Tell them plainly. Tell them plainly the story. And stop use statistics. Murders are down by 53%. What does that mean to Busha? What does that mean to Cicilline and Auntie May and Pukus? Mas Pukus, murders are down by 53%, sir, over last year. What does that mean to him? And into that silence rushed others. That was the silence that the opponents rushed, the bloggers, and they filled that vacuum with distortion and doubts. You know, Hannah Andrett reminded us that power depends on shared reality. And when a party fails to defend reality, misinformation governs the conversation. When a party fails to defend reality, misinformation governs the conversation. Andrew Holness carried the burden of governance, but too often he stood alone in the battle of explanation. He had to carry the burden of governance and he had to be the one explaining it. So what happened to the other communicators? You can't put that on the leader. So when we see 3528, we should not ask first, what did the Prime Minister do wrong? No. We should ask, did the party do enough to support him? Because leadership without organization is exposure. Achievement without communication is vulnerability. And what the party has done is expose the Prime Minister too much. And when you expose your leaders too much, you expose him to be vulnerable. And history shows us this, that great builders are not always rewarded at the ballot. They are not rewarded at the ballot in proportion to what they have repaired. The margin was narrow. The work was great. He calls himself a builder. And if the party learns that lesson, the next numbers will be a very different story. (2029) or 2030 can be a very different story. Everything is lined up here for a 50-seat win. Everything that I've looked at here. But the party is dropping the ball when it comes on to communication. Party did not do enough to support its leader. And that's sad. 8:30. I'm coming back. Give me some more time.